By the way, he's disappeared again. Journalists and investigators have already shown that he hasn't appeared on television since February 5th. People are being fed canned footage, and we know this perfectly well. Well, of course, being old and frail is one version, but he disappears very often when he has nothing to say. He keeps his mouth shut and doesn't show up at all. This time, what do you think is the reason for his disappearance from the information space?
First of all, his usual explanation is that he doesn't like to work. In general, he doesn't like to work much at all. And now it's winter, maybe he's out skiing somewhere on the slopes. We don't know anything because they don't show him to us. He used to show all his skiing. And now it's quite possible that he just put on a fake beard so he wouldn't be recognized and left. Went off somewhere to ski because he loves it. That's the first explanation. The second explanation, of course, could be health problems. He needs to get some kind of injection again or something. And for that, he'll have to disappear for another 2 or 3 weeks. Well, and most importantly, of course, he simply has nothing to say. Putin has nothing to respond with to what was said by Trump, for example, Zelensky, and various other world leaders. He looks very, very pale, and that's another reason why he might disappear. Additionally, as we discussed, there is also the distinct possibility that now the Olympic Games are ending, we are already at the end of the second week, and then comes the final third week. Wait, maybe it's quite possible that it's ending this week, around the 20s of the month. And he's preparing some kind of dirty trick. And if he's preparing some kind of dirty trick, then that's when he goes into hiding. Probably in some bunker already, so to speak, getting ready to orchestrate this scheme from there. That possibility also exists. We'll see.
You mean that a small victorious war is actually not something Putin needs right now? Perhaps Sweden is acting preemptively, having stated that, according to their latest information and based on the intelligence reports they have gathered, Putin is preparing an attack on one of the NATO countries. Specifically, the Baltic states have now, in fact, started discussing and coordinating how they would respond in the event of a possible military attack by Putin on Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania. Do you think that, as of today, Putin is capable of launching an attack against one of the European or NATO member countries? And does he really need this today, strategically, geopolitically, or for domestic consumption?
The answer to both questions is yes. He requires it geopolitically. And he is certainly capable of it, specifically in the form of hybrid warfare. That is to say, it is clear that no ground troops will be sent in there. But he can still stir up some new trouble. Something very similar to what happened in Donetsk and Luhansk back in 2014. Because, for example, the city of Narva in Estonia is still right there. And there are many Russian-speaking people there. And then he could partially bomb it somewhere over some specific territory. It all makes perfect sense, because right now it seems that Putin lives only for war. He simply cannot find any other way to live his life. He has fully committed to launching a massive war-driven economy. This type of war economy also inevitably creates its own specific kind of logic. That is to say, if you only manufacture guns, machine guns, and rockets, then you eventually have to use them. Because you cannot just keep stockpiling them in massive storage warehouses all day long. Especially since he isn't even able to fill up the warehouses. And he understands something else. That right now, while Europe is still fragmented, while it is still searching for itself, it is still very weak. Not in the sense that it is weak physically, because if you add up the entire economic and military potential of all the European countries, they surpass the Russian Federation by 10 times. And they could easily handle it, if we're talking about a conventional non-nuclear conflict. But since they are all divided, since there are all sorts of Ficos, Orbans, some Bulgarians, other people emerging on the scene, Greeks, some people show up, I don't know, Portuguese, Spanish, well, more Spanish. Frankly, who really cares? And there are the Italians and the French who seem to care far more about their own tourism industries than about maintaining sanctions against the Russian Federation. So, Putin hopes that right now there is still such a strategic opening because it won't require too much concentrated effort from him, like opening up a second front. And, from his point of view, since he believes that a broad and united coalition is fighting against him, the opening of a second front means a weakening of support for Ukraine. In other words, roughly speaking, He believes that the West has a finite amount of ammunition and all sorts of military equipment. And therefore, if tension arises somewhere else, they will have to give less to Ukraine, rather than open up more fronts, to tap into some new reserves and try to fight Putin using other stockpiles. That's why I absolutely do not rule out such a scenario.
All right. And what kind of reaction do you expect from Europe and NATO? What do you expect? To what extent will Putin's hopes for NATO's weakness be justified? First and foremost, what do you think?
We absolutely can't say anything about this because all these statements are purely theoretical and have never been used anywhere, because war is tested by war. Take Ukraine, for example. Everyone thought Ukraine would surrender in 3 days, and Putin believed the war would last 3 days. Ukraine did not surrender, and now it has been fighting against Putin for 4 years. But we have no way of knowing how prepared and willing all the other countries are to act in wartime conditions. And on this matter, it is impossible for anyone to accurately predict. That is, it's clear that everyone has plans, everyone has general staffs who, in their war games, will explain to you how well they'll handle things. For example, when Western military forces conduct maneuvers, they consistently and decisively defeat the Russian Federation, which is launching an attack against them in these exercises. In the general staff of the Russian Federation, when they conduct these exercises and maneuvers, they successfully overcome the NATO alliance. And everyone is satisfied because it's all virtual. But how it will actually play out in real life, no one knows.
We can only hope that their threat that if anything were to happen, missiles will fly to Moscow, among other places. This is not just empty talk, but a very real and present threat, and it is clear that Putin is deeply afraid of it. Western intelligence agencies, which, let us remind you, are the exact same ones that predicted a very short war and Ukraine's complete defeat at the beginning of 2022, are now saying that Putin is fully ready to fight for at least another 2 years, just for the Donbas region. What do you personally think of such grim forecasts, and where exactly do they come from? And in your opinion, is it really possible that Putin can already think this way? To think in such terms as years of war at this point?
Yes, of course. Look, the war in Ukraine has already been going on for 12 years. Soon it will be 13. The 13th anniversary is coming up because it started... No, wait, 12 years. Because it started in 2014. And so to speak, in military terms. Because in hybrid terms, it has been going on since 2005 or 2004. But in military terms, since 2014. So what? Well, Putin has been at war since 2014. Furthermore, his significant strategic advantage now, compared to Western countries, is that he really has one, a war economy. That is, in reality, half of his annual state budget goes to the war. And this is the weakest point for Ukraine and for the West. Because look, we were all incredibly happy because just recently there was a major vote in the European Parliament which solemnly approved the critical decision to allocate 90 billion euros to Ukraine for the next 2 years. And this includes both essential financial aid to the Ukrainian economy and vital military assistance. 90 billion is a lot. But we must remember that Putin has 180 billion available every single year. Just recently, new materials were made public and published showing that in fact he doesn't have just 100 billion. Some even say it's much more, even over 200 billion. And so when Putin himself is utilizing and spending 200 billion, and that's 200 billion at Russian prices, meaning roughly speaking, their salaries there are like standard unemployment benefit payments in France. In other words, those kinds of high salaries aren't paid in Russia, not even at the military factories. That's why naturally with those 180 billion, they can basically do what would cost 400 billion in Europe. And you were given 90. So it's clear that you're only being given the amount that will allow Ukraine to scrape by, more or less, for another 2 years. Just scrape by. This isn't living large, not at all. It's not victory. It's not the defeat of the Russian Federation. Because in order to defeat the Russian Federation, you would need to be allocated 500 billion euros at once.